Welcome everyone, we're here at Ashley Clinton with our grower Ed White. Ed, can you tell us a little bit about the property and what you do here?
Yep, hi Megan. We're at Barnsdale here in Ashley Clinton. It's I'm a fifth generation farming here. We've got about an 850 hectare business growing maize, wheat, oats, peas, red clover and finishing lambs in the winter, and we have an organic dairy farm as well.
How many cows have you got on your organic dairy farm there, Ed?
300.
300.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
And we're going to go and have a look at some crops today. What have you got in the ground?
We've got wheat, maize and peas we can look at today. Wheat's just sort of around about T1 timing. Maize just poking through, and peas been planted for about 3 weeks now.
Fantastic. Okay, let's get started.
Cool.
So one of the things that I'm looking for here in this field is the uniformity of emergence, and in fact it's very, very good. And when we take a look, so there's a couple of things. One, when we look at the soil, we can imagine that the seed to soil contact was very, very good. And when we look at the plants here, so we can see, these three plants have emerged on what we might call day one. This is perhaps half a day later. These are back to day one, and these are maybe half a day later. So very, very good and even emergence, and that helps contribute to yield. So when you have a seed, or when you have a plant that emerges much later, we often call those functional weeds. They're a maize plant, but they produce very little, so they tend to rob more from surrounding plants than they actually contribute.
So one thing we do here to try and we're a dry land situation, so we're always trying to sort of conserve moisture, which is obviously why we're strip tilling and stuff, trying to conserve moisture. But the key thing we're trying to do with our sowing rates is keep them down low. And in here, there's two sowing rates in here. One's 80,000 seeds and one's 70,000 variable rate seeded. And so with our variable rate stuff, with the highest population we're doing is 85 on this farm. So, and the lowest is 70. Just to try and mitigate risk, really. So we're trying to just make sure that we get a crop and avoid sort of disasters and stuff. Really, that's the key. Yeah.
So you were just saying there, Rene, that we've got quite a lot of little wind damage on this. So I've taken a wee photo of that close up. But Ed, you were saying that within a day or two of it emerging, you've had very high winds. And Rene, can you just talk us through the damage that you're seeing? It's just browning on the leaf.
So the damage here, Megan, is minor, but if we take a shot down here, we can see what looks like a bit of a scorch or a burn. But in this case, we know it's wind. In fact, it was so windy in this area, two trucks I heard got blown over. So give you an indication of how severe the wind was.
Yep. So not disease related?
No, not at all, and don't expect any long-term yield loss from that at all. They'll quickly grow out of that in a week's time. You'll never know that it happened in the first place. Look, I absolutely love what Ed is doing here. So a really key thing is Ed has recognised the challenges he has on his farm, and he is taking or doing all the right things to mitigate those challenges and risks. So he's very low disturbance planting, so he's conserving moisture at planting time, which is critical in this environment. He's planting early, which is mitigating drought risk. It also helps mitigate northern leaf blight risk. He gets his crop off early, which sets him up nicely for the spring, and he's adjusting his population. He's actually planting quite low, which is a very good tool in a moisture challenging environment. So that's helping maximise his yield, but it's also minimising his seed costs, and overall he's minimising his financial risks by doing all of these things and optimising his chance of financial success. It's great work.
Hey, we're in a field of Skybolt here.
Yep.
Planted about the 20th of May. After processed peas and then a brassica crop that lambs graze. Just had T1 yesterday, which was a litre of Kestrel and a litre of Phoenix. And yeah, all the nitrogen on last bit of nitrogen went on last week. It's at 180 units, 170 units all up. Yeah.
Okay.
Can you see it?
But I can see it. I can see it. And it looks yeah, looks good. I suppose one of the you've and it obviously didn't get any other fungicide other than that T1.
Yeah, it did. It did have it had just T0, just a litre of Belide at T0, about 15 days ago, which which was sort of we ummed and ahed about. We were going over with a foliar, and we put that in, and I'm quite pleased that we did because the weather's turned pretty inclement, and so we're almost pushing, getting a little bit late. We're sort of we're pushing a little bit late on T1, and actually the rest of the wheat hasn't even had it. It'll be today or tomorrow whenever the wind comes down. So probably the reason for the T0 was mainly around worrying about the risk of getting late on T1. So just 1 litre of Belide at T0, and now we're coming in there. Yeah.
Cool. What are your yield expectations?
10 tons. Yeah. Definitely. If everything goes well, it'll be more, and if it doesn't go so well climatically from now, it'll be 8. So yeah.
Okay.
That's my target.
Okay, cool. Do you want to I don't know, do you want to put me in the crop? Drop me down. If you can put me in the crop and see if I can actually put me in, and we can have a wee look. So the good thing about Skybolt, it's pretty new cab off the rank, and it does come with a pretty good disease tolerance rating to it. So it's a pretty sturdy type of cultivar. One of the things to kind of think about going forwards is so you've already had 2 applications of fungicide, and your T2 is probably maybe 3. If it went on yesterday, you may be looking at like 3 weeks. Is that about right?
Yeah. We've got leaf 3. Just in places, leaf 3 is just in places, leaf 3 is fully out, and leaf 2 is just almost poking. So we're on the
Okay.
2 or 3
Cool.
weeks away from T2. Yeah.
So probably the most important thing for you to think about now is, so it's had a pretty robust program on it to date, and I like how you've alternated your triazole. Like the value of the T0's really iffy, and if you're in kind of like 8 to 10 ton per hectare kind of crops, just because the programs do start getting really expensive, and also there's a bit of a resistance thing. But what I want to ask you now is what you're considering for your T2. So you've used like an epoxy, like an opus base at T1, and you've used a Kestrel, like a Prothio base at T2. What are you thinking? Oh, T1, sorry. What are you thinking for your T2? Obviously, it's going to get probably an SDHI.
Yeah. SDHI. I'm just trying to think where we'll be. I'm just trying to think what was sort of going to be the flavour of the month this year, but it'll be an SDHI. T2. What I've heard with Skybolt is that T2 is probably, T2 is always the important one, but Skybolt's got more chance of a bit of stuff coming in late. Is that right?
It can do, but if you like, depending on what because you've kind of used 2 hits of triazole already, so you'll be wanting to think about something a little bit different, in terms of your triazole mixing partner at T2. So I don't know, have you had a chat with anyone about because the other option is is Revolution. It's an expensive brew, but if you're going to spend money, this is where you're going to do it. So that's a fairly common option across the board, is having like a revolution type approach at T2 with either Alatus Plus or Vimoy Ibalon that gives you the flexibility, rather than putting like a really expensive SDHI with a cheap crap triazole, because that risks both the triazole and the SDHI, if you catch my drift. And something like a Revolution and an SDHI will give you some pretty good legs to get you to the end of the season. So then you can, when you come to your T3, are you worried about rusts up there? Because it can get pretty warm up there. So that means you can actually go back to one of the triazoles you've used earlier and chuck a bit of strobe in with it, just to help with the rust at the end. If you're worried about ear diseases at all, it does leave you open to go back to something like a bolide, which, if you get it on at 59, is quite good for ear diseases. And that's an approach they use down in the deep south, where it basically kind of, you hit December and you might get rain every second day, especially around flowering.
Yeah. We definitely do target. Our T3 is timed for fusarium. Especially the Maize stuff.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So we generally do we do find that we can get hit with fusarium quite bad, especially if the December sort of turns thunderstormy and stuff. So
yeah.
So we would generally have that would generally be like an Emistar Emistar follicule or something. Yeah.
So
we've used sort of Vimoy or Alatus in the last few years at T2. So Revolution I haven't used yet, so I have to look into that.
Like it's a pricier brew, but in terms of like bang for buck on the money leaf, that's a pretty good option, because you've already used, like if you'd done, say, like Bolide if it hadn't had a T0 and you'd used Bolide at T1, you could have used a Kestrel at T2. But we're just making sure that we're alternating our triazole as much as possible, because we know that the populations are shifting. The good news for you, Ed, and for guys around your neck of the woods, is that I don't think we've got any samples from Central Hawke's Bay, but we have from Manawatu. So the mutations and the populations are still pretty stable in your neck of the woods, which means which doesn't mean you're off the hook, but it does mean you just have to be a little bit careful and make sure that you alternate. In other parts of the country, we've got changes in the Septoria population, where we're seeing resistance factors of like 200, which means you need like 200 times as much active ingredient to reduce populations in the lab. It's kind of a canary in the mine sort of thing. So it doesn't mean it's not going to work in the field. It just means we need to be making sure and being mindful that we're alternating as much as we can. I think the risk is being, and I like that you've alternated, but a couple of years ago we were pretty hot on doing like Kestrel quite a bit, and there was quite a lot of Proline. And that's the thing that's slipping the most rapidly. I've got a couple of Arable updates. Well, actually, there's 4 Arable updates that I've put out in the last couple of weeks that kind of goes into a little bit more detail into how that works. But it sounds like you're kind of on top of it, which is encouraging. I think your plans are pretty sound. Hopefully the weather kind of holds. You've got good legs with what you've put on so far, and that will give you the residual to get you to your flag leaf spray. And that flag leaf spray that you've kind of optioned, that'll give you plenty of time. And the good news is that you can pick any of those SDHIs and they'll do pretty much the same job. So the Alatus and the Vimoy are very, very similar in terms of their performance. Even the Revi Star is still pretty good because it's got the Revolution in it. It's got the older SDHI in it, so it's got the Flux that used to be in the likes of a Dexa. Of the SDHIs, it's just been around a little bit longer. so the performance of it in the lab is starting to slip a little bit, but we're not seeing any of that in the field. So it's just, you've got plenty of option, I think, is the main thing. Does that help?
Yep, no, absolutely. Thanks, Joe. Yep. Yeah, it's cool.
Um,
We'll have a think about it.
Cool. And you've put all of the ends gone on. You're not putting on anything at flag?
No, there would just be probably a bit of foliar
Yep.
stuff. Yeah, but yeah, nothing to no, nothing else really. Yeah.
It doesn't look super hungry. Have you done a mineral N? And have you or a PMN? Have you soil tested this one?
No, we didn't soil test this block, but we've just worked on what historically we would get after in that rotation.
Yeah.
We did leaf tests. We did, the leaf tests that were done at around T0 time, showed good nitrogen levels at the moment. Yeah.
No, that's cool. I mean, I would assume like the rotation that it's had, if it's come from peas and then ex brassicas that's been grazed, there's probably plenty sitting in there's probably plenty there, and it certainly doesn't look hungry. And if it's already had 170 units, you're probably, maybe a little bit just to finish it off, like you say. But I think it's sitting pretty sweet by the looks of it. Actually, I'm surprised the quality of the video is actually really good. I don't know. I'm inside today, so you're not going to get wind from my end.
Yeah.
It's coming
And
and going.
there's plenty of it.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Cool.
Did it get any insecticide at all, or?
Yeah. It's it had 2 varieties. Yeah.
Yep.
Yep.
And now it's past T2, so it should be good to go. I'm sort of looking across the crop. I can't see sort of any evidence, like you sometimes get the odd little leaves starting to poke up where you've had movement from of aphids into crop, and I'm not seeing any of those kind of little patches at this stage. So and with you being in sort of central Hawke's Bay, the risk of aphid flight is and transmission is that little bit higher. Just one thing to think about, have you got any spring cereals in it?
A little bit of spring wheat.
Yep. I think probably the only thing to think about there is if you are considering insecticides there, just remember that all of the product, like even the likes of a synthetic pyrethroid like a karate or a Cyhala, the residual of all of them once you get to springtime reduces up heaps, so you're not getting like the legs you would say for something that you applied back in May.
Yeah.
So that's just that, you're just, in this instance, you're just buying yourself a little bit of time. But of course there is the cost associated with, going to something like a Transform or a Pyramore. But they are softer on beneficials, and you'll have a reasonably good beneficial population, I would think. Just with it being a bit warmer. But yeah.
Yeah, we have used some Transform. This crop didn't get any, but on some warmer earlier country where we'd used 2 karates, and then we did use Transform at the T0.
All right. Have you got any other burning questions for me?
No, I'm all good. Yep, thank you.
No, I think I think it's been set up well. It looks really good. You've got a plan for what's going forward. You've got I have every hope that it's going to go well for you this season.